Danger does not always arrive with noise. Sometimes it comes quietly, wearing a smile, speaking gently, and earning your trust step by step. The truth is, the most harmful people are often the hardest to recognize. They don't shout, they don't threaten, they don't look evil. Instead, they blend in, they act normal, they even appear kind, and that is exactly what makes them dangerous. Because by the time you realize what they really are, the damage is already done. There are people who don't just hurt others by accident. They study behavior, they observe reactions, they learn what makes someone feel safe, and then they use it, not in obvious ways, but in small, calculated actions that slowly shift your thinking. What makes this even more disturbing is that many of these behaviors go unnoticed, not because they are rare, but because they are subtle. Research in psychology has shown that emotional manipulation often works best when it is hidden behind normal behavior. It doesn't look like control, it feels like concern. It doesn't look like harm, it feels like care. And this is why so many people stay in toxic situations longer than they should, constantly questioning themselves instead of questioning the person in front of them. There is a pattern to this kind of behavior, a pattern that repeats itself across different people, different situations, and different relationships. And once you start to see it, you cannot unsee it. Small moments start to make sense. Conversations you once ignored begin to feel different. That strange discomfort you couldn't explain suddenly becomes clear. Because the truth is, your mind notices more than you think. It picks up on inconsistencies, it feels the tension, it senses when something is off. But without awareness, it is easy to dismiss those signals. It is easy to make excuses. It is easy to believe that maybe it is just a misunderstanding, or maybe you are overthinking. And that is exactly where toxic people gain their power, not through force, but through confusion, not through aggression, but through subtle control. Some of the most damaging individuals are not openly cruel. They are patient, they take their time, they build trust before they break it. They make you feel comfortable before they start shifting the dynamic. This is why many people don't realize they are dealing with someone toxic until they feel drained, confused, and mentally exhausted. And even then, they often struggle to explain why, because nothing obvious happened. There was no single moment that clearly defined the problem. Just a slow change, a gradual loss of clarity, a feeling that something is not right, but no clear evidence to prove it. And this is where awareness becomes your strongest protection. In this video, you are going to learn 5 clear signs that reveal when someone is truly toxic and deeply harmful, even if they appear normal on the surface. These are not obvious red flags. These are the subtle patterns that most people miss, the behaviors that quietly damage your confidence, your peace, and your sense of reality. Each sign will help you see through the illusion and understand what is really happening beneath the surface. By the end of this video, you will not just recognize toxic behavior, you will understand it. You will see how it works, why it works, and how it affects you without you even realizing it. And more importantly, you will start to see people differently, not with fear, but with awareness. Because once you understand these patterns, you stop getting pulled into them. This is not just about avoiding bad people. This is about protecting your mind, your energy, your peace. Because the truth is, the wrong person can slowly change the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you see yourself. Not in one moment, but over time. And most people don't even realize it is happening. They just feel more tired, more confused, and less like themselves. That is why watching this till the end matters, because each sign builds on the next, and missing even one can leave you blind to the full picture. The goal here is not to create fear. It is to create clarity, so you can see what others ignore, so you can understand what others misunderstand, and so you can protect yourself without needing to question your instincts. If you value your peace, if you want to understand people on a deeper level, and if you want to stop second-guessing yourself in situations that don't feel right, then this video is for you. Stay with me until the end, because what you are about to learn might change the way you see someone in your life right now. And once you see it, you will never look at them the same way again. Welcome to the channel. This space is built for those who want clarity, discipline, and a stronger mind. Not motivation, but mastery. If you are ready to see the truth and take control of your awareness, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and let's begin. There is a quiet kind of confusion that builds over time when you are around the wrong person. It does not hit all at once. It grows slowly. One conversation leaves you slightly uncomfortable. Another leaves you thinking too much. Then suddenly, you notice a pattern. You start feeling drained after even the simplest interactions. Not physically tired, but mentally heavy. Like your energy has been pulled out of you without you understanding how. You replay conversations in your head, trying to figure out what just happened. You question your own words. You wonder if you said something wrong. You begin to second-guess yourself in ways you never did before. And instead of questioning the other person, you turn inward. You adjust your behavior. You try to be more careful, more understanding, more patient. You start making excuses for them. You tell yourself they are just stressed. You tell yourself they didn't mean it that way. You tell yourself it is not a big deal, but deep down, something feels off. Something does not sit right, and yet you keep ignoring it. Not because you are weak, but because the signs are not obvious. They are subtle. They are easy to dismiss. And this is exactly how toxic patterns take control without being noticed. Over time, this confusion becomes your new normal. You begin to lose clarity. Situations that should be simple start to feel complicated. Conversations that should feel easy start to feel tense. You find yourself choosing your words carefully, trying not to trigger a reaction, trying to keep the peace. But no matter what you do, something always feels slightly wrong. And instead of stepping back, you lean in even more. You try harder. You invest more energy. You believe that if you just understand them better, things will improve. But what you don't realize is that this cycle is not random. It is not accidental. It follows a pattern that repeats itself in different forms but always leads to the same result: confusion, self-doubt, and emotional exhaustion. Toxic people are not chaotic. They are consistent in their inconsistency. Their behavior may seem unpredictable, but the effect it has on you is always the same. And once you start paying attention, you begin to see it clearly. The way they speak, the way they react, the way they shift blame, the way they control the narrative without ever appearing controlling. These are not isolated incidents, they are patterns, and patterns can be recognized. That is why awareness matters. Because once you understand the pattern, you stop getting caught in it. You stop blaming yourself for things that were never your fault. You start seeing the situation for what it really is, instead of what it pretends to be. So now, it is time to bring that awareness into focus. There are clear signs that reveal when someone is toxic and deeply harmful, even if they appear normal on the surface. These signs are not loud. They do not demand attention, but they leave a clear impact if you know where to look. And once you see them, everything starts to make sense. Here are 5 signs that expose the truth behind their behavior and help you understand what is really happening beneath the surface. The first sign is subtle but powerful. They make you doubt yourself, not in an obvious way, but in a quiet, controlled manner. They twist reality. They shift details. They change the story just enough to make you question your own memory. You remember something clearly, but they insist it happened differently. You express a feeling, and they tell you that you are overreacting. You point out something that hurt you, and they dismiss it as nothing. At first it feels like a simple disagreement, but over time it becomes something deeper. You start to hesitate before speaking. You start to question your own thoughts. You wonder if maybe you are the problem. And that is exactly the point. They don't attack you directly. They don't need to. They slowly rewrite your reality until you are no longer sure what is true. Conversations with them leave you confused, not because you don't understand, but because what they say does not match what you feel. And instead of trusting yourself, you start trusting their version of events. This is not a misunderstanding. It is control. Quiet, calculated control that makes you lose confidence in your own mind. The second sign is something you feel more than you see. They drain your energy. Every interaction feels heavy. Even when nothing dramatic happens, you walk away feeling tired. There is always negativity in their presence. Complaints, criticism, small conflicts. subtle tension. It never feels peaceful. It never feels easy. You try to keep things light, but they pull the conversation into something negative. They focus on problems instead of solutions. They bring up issues instead of resolution. And over time, this constant negativity begins to affect you. You feel less motivated, less positive, less like yourself. The worst part is, it does not happen all at once. It happens slowly, so slowly that you don't notice it until it becomes a pattern. You don't leave them feeling better. You leave them feeling smaller, like a part of your energy has been taken away without your permission. And the more time you spend around them, the more this feeling grows. The third sign reveals a deeper level of manipulation. They always play the victim. No matter what happens, it is never their fault. If something goes wrong, they find someone else to blame. If they hurt you, they turn the situation around and make it about themselves. They talk about how they have been treated unfairly, how others have wronged them, how nothing ever goes their way. And at first it creates sympathy. You want to support them, you want to understand them. But over time, you start to notice a pattern. The same story repeats with different people. The same blame shifts in different situations, and no matter what happens, they are always the one being wronged. This is not about seeking understanding. This is about avoiding responsibility. And more importantly, it is about control. Because when someone positions themselves as the victim, they gain power over your emotions. They use guilt to influence your actions. They make you feel responsible for their feelings, and in doing so, they keep you tied to their narrative. They don't want solutions. They want sympathy and control. The fourth sign breaks the illusion of kindness. They are nice, but only when it benefits them. Their kindness is not consistent. It comes and goes depending on what they need. When they want something from you, they are warm, friendly, and supportive. But once they get what they want, that behavior changes, the tone shifts, the energy feels different, and if you pay attention, you will notice how quickly it happens. One moment they are kind, the next moment they are distant or dismissive. This is not natural behavior. Real kindness does not switch on and off like a button. Real kindness is steady. It does not depend on personal gain. But with toxic people, everything is calculated. Every action has a purpose. Every kind gesture has a hidden intention. Their kindness is not real. It is a strategy, a way to build trust, gain access, and create dependency. And once that purpose is served, the kindness disappears, leaving confusion behind. The fifth sign is one of the most revealing and one of the hardest to accept. They enjoy your weakness, not in an obvious way, but in subtle moments. Small comments that feel like jokes but leave a sting, sarcasm that targets your insecurities, reactions that feel slightly off when you share something important. Instead of lifting you up, they bring you down in small, controlled ways. They make you question your progress. They downplay your achievements. They highlight your flaws. And over time, this creates a quiet imbalance. You feel less confident, less secure, less willing to express yourself fully. And in that state, they feel more powerful, because when you are unsure of yourself, you are easier to influence, easier to control, easier to keep within their reach. A good person supports your growth. They celebrate your progress. They encourage your strength, but a toxic person competes with it. They feel threatened by your confidence, and instead of growing with you, they try to pull you back down. As these signs become clearer, a deeper realization begins to form. Toxic people do not always look toxic. They do not always act in obvious ways. They can be charming. They can be friendly. They can be close to you. Sometimes they are not strangers. Sometimes they are people you trust, people you care about, people you have known for a long time. And that is what makes it difficult to see, because you are not looking for danger in familiar places. You are not expecting harm from someone who feels close. But awareness changes that. Awareness does not create fear. It creates clarity. It allows you to see behavior without illusion, to understand patterns without confusion, and most importantly, to protect yourself without losing your sense of trust. Because once you see these patterns clearly, you stop ignoring your instincts. You stop explaining away behavior that does not feel right. You stop losing yourself in someone else's control. And in that awareness, you begin to take back your power, one moment at a time. The moment you recognize toxic behavior, something shifts inside you. Not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. You stop trying to fix what was never yours to fix. You stop explaining yourself to people who were never trying to understand you. And slowly you begin to see things with clarity instead of confusion. The patterns become obvious. The excuses lose their power. And the weight you have been carrying for so long starts to feel lighter. Because now you understand. You begin to protect your peace in a way you never did before. You become more careful with your energy, more aware of who you allow into your space, not out of fear, but out of respect for yourself. Because once you see the truth, you cannot go back to ignoring it. You cannot go back to pretending everything is fine when it is not. Awareness changes the way you move, it changes the way you respond, and most importantly, it changes what you are willing to tolerate. Not every person deserves access to your mind, your time, or your emotions. And that realization is powerful, because the moment you stop giving your energy to the wrong people, you start building a stronger version of yourself, a version that is calm, clear, and in control. And that is where real strength begins. If this video helped you see things differently, then stay connected. Subscribe to the channel for more content on discipline, clarity, and mental strength. Not motivation, but mastery. Like this video so more people can become aware of these patterns, and share it with someone who needs to see this before it is too late. Protect your peace, stay aware, and I will see you in the next one.